All right, cool. I'm ready to go.
Let's do it.
All right. What's up, everybody? This is Rob Cruz. I'm your host. This is the Transcending Sport Podcast. I have a special guest. Long time coming. We're dying to get these guys on here. I have Brian Page. He is director of MLB accounts and special accounts for Rapsodo, baseball and softball. Brian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Rob. I've been looking forward to it. Love what you guys do.
Yeah.
Complete game. So excited to have you on, have me on, and looking forward to the conversation.
Yeah, so I want to start out with, like, for people who don't know what Rapsodo is, because I know, because I'm a tech geek nerd, and I know that Rapsodo goes back to golf. It has done a lot of things in terms of perfecting flight information and understanding flight data, which to me is like such an important metric. The metrics that you guys are giving us are very important. But I wanted to if you could just give a quick description of, for people who don't know what the product actually does. I'm curious to see how you would define it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so you're right, Rob. On the golf side, our owner was the head engineer who first designed our golf products, going back more of like 2005, 2006 timeframe. But when we really got into diamond sports, so covering, of course, baseball and softball, that was about 2016, and that's when I got started. Out of Indianapolis at the time. Now we're in St. Louis. Mm-hmm. But the mission the whole time was to get professional grade data from ball flight into all athletes' hands. Myself, I pitched at a D3 school, not the type of budget that typically has, advanced technology for player development, ball flight, biomechanics, you name it. So when I would describe Rapsodo, it's really just an optical and radar system that is tracking the ball in flight for both the pitching and hitting side to give that immediate feedback so a player can develop in real time, work with a coach on a development plan, also be able to use that development journey to get scouted, recruited, seen. If that's a player wanting to go to the D2 level, the D1 level, pro softball and pro baseball leagues, really from day one back to like 2016, the idea was to give that ball flight data immediate time so that these athletes that don't have anything tracking their pitches and hits can use that for those purposes.
So I heard you use the word development multiple times. So everybody's not a development person. Every organization are not development people. I am a development person. Like, my whole being, everything that I dream and work on and work towards is, how do I get better to help coaches and players around me become better? So obviously you're a development person, because you use that word a lot. Most people, especially in the softball space, are using most technologies as simply report cards. Here's where you are. You're really good. Clap, clap, clap. You're not that good. Clap, clap, clap. Bye. See you next time.
Right.
Like, how do we, and I think this is the big question that I've always, hoped for, right? And I think we're getting closer to that in the sport of softball. I think baseball's kind of there. It's been there for a while.
Sure.
And in the sport of softball, one of my goals, one of my objectives, one of my missions is to get softball to get past the technology is so cool. Look what we have. To get past that stage. And obviously there are people who are past that stage, but there's so many more people who are not past that stage. To them, what do you say?
Yeah, I think you're right with it is interesting, baseball and softball. On the baseball side, we had that data in front of us for a long time with StatCast era. You turn on whatever. Say we're in St. Louis. So you turn on the Cardinals game, you're seeing things like the exit velocity, the spin rate, the horizontal vertical break. Actually seeing that, on the screen, you can go to like a baseball savant and see that data. Yeah. So it is interesting as we got started on the softball side, and just and we can talk a lot of hitting today. But on the pitching side, just the athletes releasing the ball down by the hip with so much gyro degree, it's just so much different. You can't utilize what we've learned on the baseball side, especially on the pitching. So I think a lot of that, is around like the education of what those data points are. And, we kind of already talked about like development guys versus, just collecting data and getting a report card to say, yeah, you're, good versus, hey, you're not really at this level yet.
Yeah.
I think that's an important piece, is just kind of understanding what you're collecting, because regardless if we're talking pitchers or hitters, Athletes are all different. You're working lefty swings, righty swings. I know on the softball side, you're talking power hitters, slap hitters, different profiles. So, I would say, one of the biggest things getting started with Rapsodo, and I think we're at a better place now, like 10 years down the road, is just, hey, what are we collecting? Because we have all these awesome coaches that have taught the mechanics of a swing, attack angles, these things to get the most out of the player. But the ball flight data, it's a little bit newer, especially on the softball side, as you alluded to. So I think an education piece of, hey, what are these data points and how can we apply them? Because we're never trying to tell the coach, hey, coach it a different way. It's like, hey, you are the experts to develop these athletes.
That's right.
But this ball flight data is going to help them connect the dots, track the progress. And then also, you have the things like the video as well to actually connect the dots, for the athletes.
So I have a, and I know Matt and I have talked, and I'm really grateful for the partnership that I have with Rapsodo. Like, that's one of my,
absolutely.
It's exciting to be a partner, to be considered to be a partner with a company that I've admired for years. So I just want to
appreciate that.
I just want to have that on the record. And as I utilize my own creativity, certain metrics mean more to me because of my philosophies, right? So I think the one thing that I would say about technology is, if you allow it to, and if you have a level of humility as a coach, the technology will change your mind about things that you thought were true. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And you're like, well, wait a minute. All this time I thought that this was true, but the data is giving me unbiased information.
Right.
And these are facts. You know, and I'm curious to know how, when Rapsodo first came on the scene, obviously it was a lot different than it is now. What are some of the biggest differences and how we've evolved with this technology? And then what should we look for coming in the near future?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thinking back that 10-year journey, I would say talking baseball, softball, there was a lot of just collect data, in my opinion. I mean, I'm talking even at the MLB level, and I'm at spring training. As you mentioned, I run that for Rapsodo, so I'm around that high level type of pro ball. And in those early days, even at spring training, same goes on the softball side. Is I think a lot of places are just collecting data to store it and say, hey, this is the new era of the ball flight. Like, it's something we need to do. But I think one thing that personally for me I've loved to see is just the implementation of the data over the years. And specifically working with those different athletes, is there's a better understanding, I would say, across the board. And there's a want from the athletes too. Hopefully you see that, with the athletes you're training with. When we first started, I would say there was some hesitation from some coaches, maybe even a fear and stubbornness of, hey, I've coached these high level players for a long time. I don't need an iPad or a computer to tell me what to do. Right. And what we've always said, even to now, is, that's never been the case, because it's what you mentioned before. It's being able to store that for the player development again, and allow connect some dots with the athletes. So I would say where we're at now and where we've gone is kind of that phase of, hey, just collect the data. Yeah. We're kind of learn as we go. We know there's some new data points that are going to be coming out. But being able to kind of compile that over the years and actually learn and have use cases to where, hey, for this athlete, that program worked and we saw a spike in exit velocity, or a more consistent, spin rate on their, quality of contact on the off the barrel. Yeah. I think for me, just seeing both the athletes and coaches, it's just kind of here now. It's a part of the game. So I think what we'll see too in the future is, we're really heavy on the training side, of course, but, I think the in-game data is super important when an athlete is at full intent. They're facing the live pitching at a full intent, and, in-game where it really matters. So I think we'll see a lot of that data too coming from more of in-game across the industry, where these athletes kind of know it from a training setting, but then also are getting some of that feedback in-game, hopefully, as well.
That's good. I like that. I love that, actually. So I want to say this. What's your favorite metric on the hitting side?
Yeah, I would. On the hitting side, I would say, man, it's spin rate. It's I wish we could provide more. I wish I could provide more on the hitting side, because one thing we talk about a lot is the pitching. I pitched in college. I talk that side a lot. Yeah. but the pitcher controls every variable out of the hand, right? So like the hitter, of course, on more of the reactive side. So of course we've got, the launch angle, the exit velocity, exit direction. But I really like our spin data. It's kind of our bread and butter, because back to, originally what we were talking about of what Rapsodo is essentially high-speed images of the ball. So we're measuring the lace patterns, the exact spin rate, the exact spin direction, being like, if it's backspin, side spin, where it's going through the face of the clock. We do that probably better than anyone, just because we directly measure it from an optical standpoint. So sorry, long answer, but
no,
I really like the spin rate to the quality of contact, because I think back to the education piece too, that, right when you get started with Rapsodo and it's like, hey, I'm seeing spin rates in the, below 1,000, I'm seeing them above 2,000. What does that mean? I really like to speak to the quality of contact side of things. When that barrel is meeting, center, we're seeing those lower spin rates. I mean, it's not creating distance to that point because we're killing the spin rate, but the higher exit velocities, and then, that knuckle type action we see in both baseball and softball. I think that's a pretty powerful tool, because then you're, tracking that quality of contact. And then when you pair that with the spin direction, and, you are starting to train and add a little bit more, spin rate to create carry, I think athletes can kind of start to feel that off the barrel. If it's off flips or a pitching machine or live pitch, you can start to feel that, I think, and kind of, dial in more of that quality of contact I like to talk about.
That's really good. And I was hoping you were going to say spin, because that's my answer. And I'm like, sometimes I like to talk to people who know more than me, so I can get, hey, what are you doing? Pick their brain a little bit. And I think, my next question was going to be why, and you answered that question already. Like, why spin data? And spin data is what drew me to Rapsodo, because it was years ago, the affordable devices just gave you exit velo. Well, so what?
Right. And so then you've got athletes too, like chasing that high number, there's something there too, that, the competitiveness, especially if you're in the cage, it kind of creates that competitiveness. But I do like to talk about the other data points for the full picture, rather than just chasing velo.
Yeah, right. But when I say so what for the exit velo, I'm not saying that we don't need it, but there is like there's a threshold. Like I gotta have this much exit velo at this level that I'm playing at, in order for my ball to be hit hard enough to get through the hole on the ground, get in a gap in the air, and get over a fence in the air. So levels matter, and exit velo kind of matters for the level, I think, right? But you don't need 150 mile an hour exit velo. Like, we don't need that much exit velo. But how much exit velo can you get where you have maximum control? And I believe that the spin tells us how much control we have, and how efficient we can be, and how efficient we can be. And I think, so for me, when I'm working with Rapsodo in season, when I want to protect what we've done all off season, you come in real time, like, we need to know why that ball was hit hard, and look at the spin data to see what direction it's spinning in, to know what your barrel did directionally.
Yes, that is a great point. The way it mirrors is pretty amazing, really. Like, you get pretty good at that data, and you see those different the spin direction on the clock, you really know what that barrel angle was at contact, the way it mirrors off.
And what the body did also. If you look at the sequence of it, it's ball, then it's, okay, that tells you what the barrel did. And then the barrel tells you what the body did. And then the body will tell you what your intent was. If you just reverse engineer the whole process. So we go intent, body, barrel, ball, and we stay in that little system, we're on to something, and making technology something that can be included, but not a distraction. Sometimes it can become a distraction.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So I think having the perspective and for us, it's teaching the parents to understand the importance of it, to have measurables, to know when we get away from things, and when we're where we should be, and when we get away from things. I think that's important too. So, what are some of the things we could look forward to down the road that you guys are talking about in the back rooms? If you can share any of that things you got going on that we could look forward to in Rapsodo 4.0. I don't know, 4.0. What does that look like?
Yeah, I think maybe one day. I mean, if you follow the history of Rapsodo, we have traditionally had launches every few years.
Yep.
I would say with our newest on the softball side, which in my opinion is the best softball device we've had, the Pro 2.0. It actually works in the softball app where it's actually catered to softball athletes. It's it's all the softball world. One thing we've really kind of tried to nail down in the last, launches is just the more user-friendly devices. If you've been with us, Rob, over the years, it's, the older devices is, you had the cord connected to a camera on the RCE, you had a couple hours of battery life.
Yep.
We haven't introduced, new hitting data points, at this time, but now we have, the device where it can be 6 to 8 hours of battery life, better connectivity to the iPad, working in different environments. So I would say within the last few years, just for the user experience, we wanted to make as good as possible. But we really, I think a thing we do well, both in baseball and softball, is listen to the industry. And we're at things like NFCA, the MLB winter meetings, ABCA on the baseball side. We really try to listen from the coaches of, hey, are there new data points? Like, what can we provide for you guys? I think one that really hit well on the baseball side, the team shifted away because a big thing over on the baseball side that we heard from MLB clubs of, hey, you guys should provide this, and we got it in development. So I think back to your original question, I think if there's data points that we kind of come across that are, as the whole industry learns, we're going to, work hard to get that into the new builds. I think you can definitely see some like in-game related stuff. Like that's a hope for us, like I mentioned, of kind of getting that whole athlete's journey where, they're with great, coaches, instructors like yourself, and they're developing, but then, hey, you got that same ecosystem of, you're getting that in-game data from, the same provider as well at some point. It's not an easy thing to do. There's not many players that are doing the in-game data, but that's something I think we would like to get to. And something that gets kicked around in the product side too is always bat data. There's great providers that have, things on the knob that tell you some things about attack angle, things like that. From an optical standpoint, it is challenging to get that, but I think that's something we'd love to provide too, to allow the user to see on the app, hey, some of the things the bat is doing, but then also, our bread and butter, the ball data, to follow that up. Again, that's all stuff we'd love to get to. It's easier for me to say, not the engineer building it, but I think we'd love to get to those things.
Yeah, and I agree. And I would say also, for me, like experiencing the newer version of Rapsodo, and I've been waiting. And what I love, and I'm going to say this too, like, so many technology companies that the sequences golf, baseball, and then softball, and which is fine. I mean, I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But I have the problem that I have sometimes with other companies is that they don't really take the time to dive into the game of softball as a sport, because softball is very different than baseball. Softball is not women's baseball. It's not baseball. It's softball.
Right.
The bases is different. The ball is different. It's pitched differently. There's a certain specific level of difficulty with hitting that's different in terms of variables of what a pitch can do. So it truly is a different game, but there are a lot of similarities. And I love that you guys have taken the time. You didn't rush softball. You didn't rush the development of you did the research to find out that this is the game of softball. Let's treat it like how it's deserved to be treated. And I'll give you this, and I'll give you this too. The newer version of it for me is how light it is.
Yes,
it's light. You guys have the new soft case. It literally doesn't take up a lot of space. You can fly with it. Obviously, it's a longer battery charge. The setup is easy compared to the original one. The setup is easy. The calibration process is easier. Like, I felt like the other one, people got turned off because the older versions of it, you could spend the whole session on just getting it ready, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, sorry, we got to go. So now it's like you cut it on, you put it on the ground, let's go, let's hit. And I love that.
You're exactly right.
That's what we need. We needed that. I appreciate the evolution of it and the usability of it from the tech guy that I am, for the person who's not the tech guy or the tech girl. Like, our kids come in, our pitchers come in, they grab the Rapsodo, they turn it on, they throw, they look on the screen, they help each other, they give each other feedback. We're not even over there. And they start to understand how to manipulate a spin of a pitch.
Mm-hmm.
And as our hitters start to listen to the pitchers, our hitters are getting better because they're starting to understand how to look for and how to hunt spin differently. So it becomes this whole learning system on both sides of the game that teams can really benefit from when you make it a community project and it's not coach dominating tech. Let the kids let the kids learn when they take a swing. Why did that happen? Why did that ball just slice to opposite field?
Sure.
Why did I split that gap? Why is my ball slicing? Mm-hmm. Like, how do I fix that? Take another swing. Okay, I get it now. And they're figuring it out.
Yeah,
and
that's
I think
awesome.
that for us, that's gold, because if they figure it out, they learn it faster and they're maintaining that feel, right? But if we figure it out for them, they don't learn it as fast and they don't keep it.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta get our younger players to become more independent and respect technology. And it's not a big investment. Think about how much you're gonna have to pay in tuition if you're not good enough to get a scholarship. Right?
Right.
You might as well just go ahead and pay the $5,000 and see how great your kid can be. Right? And then, because you're gonna pay it anyway in tuition. It's an investment in the improvement of a player so that they can get that scholarship. It pays for itself.
Yeah, so, it's great. It's a great point you bring up.
So talk to us about. And by the way, my listening audience is very, very advanced. Like, the people that listen to my podcast are specific type of people. Like,
Sure.
I mean, they are researchers. They're into the depth and the deepness of the game. And I appreciate you guys, our listeners, and I appreciate you here spending time with us today. But I want to talk about the overlay feature, where we have like the live feature with the pitcher batter.
Mm-hmm.
That's a freaking game changer, dude.
Yeah, that was a long time coming. That was one that we knew we wanted to dial in because I think, I mentioned before, and sorry if I can back up one thing I had in mind. I wanted to your previous comments is, with the advanced audience and, our partnership with you is, I encourage, anyone listening, and of course we'll, be talking to Rob, but when there are things like, hey, there's a hole here, that there's a data point, there's a functionality, there's a type of game mode, like, we are very open to like all of that feedback. So any listeners, like, please, reach out to us. And then I know Rob will get some great feedback from you as well, but we always want to develop based off of, the users and, what they're wanting, what the industry's asking for. So just want to shout that out to encourage, anybody to reach out, and we're very open to those conversations. And, we want to build, what's good for the athletes, and, you guys that are using it and the coaches are with the athletes every day, that's the best people to hear from. So I just wanted to shout that out. But back to, talking live on live. I mean, that was not an easy thing for the engineers to really, time up the cameras, because, if you're listening and you haven't seen the unit, it is sitting in front of home plate, and we have a camera facing the mound, a camera facing the home plate. So it's actually picking it up over the device. So we get a lot of images on both the hitting and the pitching side for live on live. But I think it, you tell me, Rob, but I think kind of can change the way you train, because then it's more of, hey, this is actually what you're seeing in a game. If it's from a live arm, from a pitching machine, you actually see that data to tune it into an accurate pitch, say if it is coming from a machine, like an accurate spin rate, an accurate break type of profile. But yeah, it was one we were excited about, because I think it's one of the tools we were able to give hitting that, again, because there's so many more data points on the pitching side, I think it's a powerful one on the hitting to actually train in a training setting, more like you would in game throughout the season, especially on the softball side, where these athletes can throw more, with the underhand rather than, the injuries with the overhand motion.
So I want to say this to the listeners also. Like, I value in-game data, and we all should, so much more than I value data taken from T-work or data taken from side toss. I respect front flips to an extent. I respect machine data. But there's nothing like live. There's nothing like, because what happens when it's live, and even if it's just a one-on-one in a batting cage, that's still live, because our body has this physiological response to the competitive atmosphere when there's a count and when there's a live pitcher, and it's different. The numbers are going to be different. So you can't tell me that you have 80-mile-an-hour bat speed off T-work and expect me to respect that. Now, granted, that's pretty good. Yeah. That you're strong enough to create that, but it's not going to be 80 in a game. It's not going to be. So when we look at, so that's one aspect of it. I love to see how pitchers are changing when it's live batter, and the data is totally different than when it's bullpen, because there's that pressure of, am I getting ready to get smoked right here?
Exactly.
And then the other part of it is when we're on the field, and look, we went down to IMG Academy this past January, and we did
Nice.
We had about 4 teams down there, and we just kind of so we had. And by the way, I don't know if you've ever been to IMG, but
oh yeah, I love it. Yeah, we worked with those guys.
And my good friends, like one of my couple of my really good friends are like coaches down there. Like I went to the house for dinner.
Awesome.
The wife cooked. Yeah. Like we go back. Like we had a great time just with the baseball guys mostly. But even though we took softball people down, but I hung out with like the director, the varsity baseball coach, and the director of pitching. And nice. We just hung out, and that softball field is the best softball field.
Pretty beautiful
I've ever been on. Yeah. The dirt, the perfection of the hops, oh my God, I chills. So, but I'm getting off track. So what I was going to say was the girls, right? When they take the clip of them hitting in a live situation against a pitcher with the overlay, it shows you what the pitch velo was, what the pitch location was. It also shows you like where you hit it, how hard you hit it, and this video. Don't be telling me you got this exit velocity in text and you don't got video proof.
Yeah.
So you get to if you post that from a recruiting standpoint, that's big.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was about to go with it. You brought up the scholarships. I mean, that with how heavy Rapsodo is used at the college level, I mentioned that whole 10-year journey, and then there was like, some analytic departments, coaches still kind of learning what it is. Mm-hmm. That's not really the case anymore. They know what they're looking for when they get that package of video of the athlete, back to the live on live. Hey, here's some proof I can actually hit this, 70 mile an hour or whatever you want to say, this nasty pitch. Here's some proof, kind of, compile that and, send it off to coaches. We've definitely seen some success stories on, girls getting some scholarships just based off of, the data and being able to connect that dot if they're an athlete that wasn't able to get a scene in person or, whatever it may be. That data definitely tells a story through that pipeline to the coaches these days, which I love because, again, the mission from the day one was getting athletes seen and developed at all levels, not just, at the D1s of the world or whatever it may be, across the board.
Yeah, because there's so many more players that if you take D2, D3, JUCO, NAIA, high school, there's so many more players.
Right.
So why would we only want to we're limiting ourselves to how many people? Yeah. And for me, it's about culture. It's like if we can shift the mindset of the culture to respect numbers a little bit more, that goes a long way. And because it gives you a baseline somewhere to start. To see where are you? Because the worst question, and my kids and my parents are pretty trained because we regularly use data, and my kids do not ask me the question, was that good? There is no good, there is no bad. It's just what it is. So please don't compare yourself. That's the other problem, the comparison game. You need to know what your numbers are and what your numbers should be, because your numbers shouldn't be what her numbers are necessarily. She's probably a different type of hitter. She's probably, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be better than you because her numbers are quote unquote higher. Because some kids have higher exit velocity numbers and they can't hit.
Right.
That's practice.
Yeah.
So if we're being real with we're being real, or we're being real. And I think that's the thing that I want people to understand. Like, I can put a swing tracker on your bat. I can take a blast motion swing tracker, put it on a kid's bat.
Yep.
With Rapsodo, and say, look, your bat speed was only 62. You hit that ball 220.
Right.
And you had efficient spin off the bat. Every time you swing harder than that, every time you swing high 60s, you get around it, you slice it, you foul it off. So you need to be in this range of bat speed to have better efficiency. Now we're getting it all. Now we're getting it all in one session. And that's just the creativity that we're utilizing the technology with, because that's going to be the thing that's going to be because kids don't think that way. They think, I'm chasing bat speed. Yeah, but you're losing efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you use the word baseline. I love that because you're obviously doing a great with your program, but that is something when we do get questions about, hey, how do I get started? Love the word baseline because then it lets the athlete know where you're at. You are working with all these different athlete profiles, like we mentioned, and talk through different ages. There's not going to be like hey, this is exactly where you need to be for a 14-year-old, whatever it may be.
Yep.
It's getting that baseline of that athlete to set that starting point to then be able to show the progress, some trial and error with maybe drills you're working on, whatever it may be. But I love that you use that word because we encourage that on, hey, where do you stand today? Before we go down this development journey and scouting, recruiting, all the things we've covered. You got to understand where you're at today before you get started.
Yeah, that's true. So one more thing I want to talk about, and then you can, I want to wrap it up. I don't want to keep you too long, but I think when I look at, for example, pitchers, right? Because obviously there's we're talking Rapsodo, but most people think hitting, but Rapsodo is probably even more important and even more of a special device for pitchers to understand the importance of spin and spin direction. Because we can't get so caught up into velo. Because at a certain level, nobody cares how hard you throw. They're just going to hit it further. Nobody cares, especially when you're playing at the higher level. Like your velo means nothing. They will just smoke you deeper. They will take you to the second parking lot instead of the first parking lot. It doesn't matter. Yeah. If you're not moving it and you're not moving it in a certain way, and we need to have those numbers. Like I think the high school level, the 14U, 16U, travel ball level, parents, players, coaches, pitching instructors at the various facilities out there need to understand what type of spin numbers are the most effective, or type of spin directions are the most effective for getting swings and misses. And there is a number. There are numbers that you have to understand. If those kids are not able to create those numbers, then it's going to reduce their chances of being recruited, because a lot of college coaches are calling us, asking us, hey, what type of spin does she have? And if you don't know the language, if you don't understand the language that they speak or that they want to hear, you're doing the kids a disservice. For a small fee.
Absolutely.
It's not even that expensive to buy this machine. You spend that much money on, if you add up all the money you spend on probably Starbucks, maybe I would say, for a whole year. You could have bought a Rapsodo. I'm just saying, that's probably what, I haven't done it. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, but you know what I mean. It's not that big of a, and I think, and that's kind of where we're at, like with our pitchers. Like, okay, look, this is the kind of spin that college coaches at the highest level really respect. Throwing hard, you throw hard, great. But now what? Can you get swings and misses? And a lot of it is the deception and how late the ball is moving and what direction the ball is moving, because there's certain angles that a hitter just can't do. Certain hitters can't really do that really well on certain pitch locations. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I would say, mine goes to, and it's kind of a throwback a little bit. It's been a few years now, but if you remember Paige Parker out of Oklahoma, man, so when we were getting started with the pitching side, and I'll be honest, like we were learning, just like everyone in the softball industry, just because you mentioned, the baseball had the StatCast stuff. Some stuff was already kind of established, right? Like curveballs, the sliders, kind of across the board. It was like an understanding, like, yeah, it's a slider, that's a curveball. When we started collecting a lot of softball data, we were seeing a ton of gyro degree, seeing if Gyro was throwing hard with gyro degree, they're still getting outs with the closer mound and all that. But we were seeing a lot of gyro degree. So one thing we were doing kind of in the early days was like, hey, let's look through this data and, what pitchers are creating, these different movement profiles with higher efficiency and creating, arm side movement, glove side movement, rather than, a lot of gyro pitches with different, speeds to them. And Paige Parker, it was amazing, going out to Oklahoma, seeing her throw a bullpen. We did a video shoot with her back then, and she was one of our, ambassador athletes. But she truly had like 5-6 different spin profiles that did different things that she could throw at the hitter. And I still think we're learning there. Yeah, absolutely.
For some people who don't know what gyro spin is, can you explain a little bit first what gyro spin is?
Yeah, thanks for saying that. And I should say bullet spin, right? That's I think that gets thrown a lot around in softball. So you hear gyro, you hear bullet. The way I like to describe it is, if you think of like a bullet being fired out of a gun and that type of spin, or a spiral of a football where it's not, like true backspin, but it's as the object's moving forward, it has that rotation like a spiral of a football or a bullet being fired out of a gun. That's that type of spin we're talking about. And, when a pitch does have that bullet spin, it's naturally going to drop. A higher velocity, of course, can, keep it, more flat. But the gyro allows Magnus effect to pull the ball down, So But when we talk back about, spin direction and spin efficiency, that's where it's like, hey, is this athlete getting through like a true point of the clock with more backspin or side spin to create that movement? Right. And, again, it's like every athlete's different and all that. But, back to your question, kind of thinking back to some of those, athletes and girls that can create those different pitch profiles, I think is pretty powerful. And, just getting on and throwing some bullpens, you start to understand your baseline like we talked about. And, hey, maybe I can add a drop ball or whatever it may be. Because, in my movement profile, like I don't have a pitch that's, running in on a righty, for example. And that's where you get that right spin direction. You see how it's breaking. You add it to the arsenal. That's kind of what we're all about. Very quick story is, I pitched in college at D3, like I mentioned. Always tried to throw a 12-6 curveball. First few bullpens at Rapsodo when I was, testing in college was, man, I should have been throwing a slider the whole time. It's like, am I better with my slider? I never did that. So I think that's, applicable to all athletes, baseball and softball, is just kind of understanding your spin profile, utilizing that spin efficiency and, dialing in that whole arsenal. But, gyro degree, bullet spin, that's a big piece of that whole puzzle.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for breaking that down. And because what we're finding is that most pitchers, if you just let them throw a fastball, you're going to see what their natural spin is.
Yeah, sure. What do you see on that? I'm curious. Do you see a lot of gyro? Or are you seeing a lot of top spin?
So we see this. When you let a kid throw their fastball, it may have screwball movement, it may have up and in movement, and it may even have down movement. So guess what? That same player is probably going to say, oh, I got 4 pitches. And then we're going to show them on Rapsodo, no, you only have 1 pitch. You have you have 4 names that you call
it. But you might be slowing down the speed a little bit. Yeah.
Because that pitch is doing the same thing and you don't even know it because your pitching coach never got a Rapsodo to be able to see it. You can't see those things with the naked eye.
You're right.
That's the other thing. You need to get to be able to assess and measure the spin and see where it's going. So we usually do that like with our, when we develop our pitchers, we do that when they're 14, 13, 14, right?
Nice.
So for us, for our organization, Stars National, right? We don't really go out and kind of what I'll say like steal players. Like we kind of develop our players. Yeah. So what we do is when we get them at 13, 14 or 15, even 15, like the kid that threw 58 that nobody wanted, why is she throwing 68 now? Rapsodo plays a big role in that. That's true development.
It's awesome.
But the development is in the feedback. I have so many success stories about that, but what we've done with this machine for our pitchers, like it's incredible. It's almost like people's dreams have come true because they were rejected. They came to somewhere where they knew they can get developed, they knew they can get better. And I'm talking 10 miles an hour, 8 miles an hour in months, like 3, 4, 5 months. And developing pitches and throwing pitches off certain pitches. So if you have a pitcher that's like a lot of down, naturally, we have a player now, she throws 70. She didn't always throw 70, but now she throws 70. And everything she throws from the waist down has down action. Some of it has down and away action. So she has like that natural 430 spin, which is
sure. And I was going to say,
dirty.
Probably
it's dirty.
Seeing higher efficiencies than maybe normally across the board where she's
swings and misses,
creating that top spin to create that movement. Yeah,
absolutely.
Oh, I'm sure.
Straight filth.
That's what it's all about.
Hitters can't even deal with it because there's no you don't think that angle, and then when it's too late, You commit it. Yeah. So I think the power is in playing with the machine as often as you can, always having it out. So we'll have 3-4 Rapsodos out, always. And there's pitcher catcher all the way down or whatever, and so that we can get more pitchers to get in and get the time with it. It's just worth it. It's an investment that we're making in ourselves as coaches, and we're investing into our kids as well, so they can understand. Hey, this is what pitching is. It's movement. It's deception. It's swings and misses, and then the same kid I'm talking about, when she throws it up, it's you can see that up, and it stays on playing a little bit longer. And the hitters just miss underneath it, because hitters are missing hitters are missing the rise ball in 2 ways. Hitters are missing the rise ball late and under. Hitters aren't getting on top like you kind of want to.
Sure.
Because in today's day and age, a pitcher may have 2 or 3 different rise balls that are starting at different planes. it's different, man. People out here throwing straight filth.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's nasty.
It's
I know I wouldn't be hitting it.
Me either. I ain't got no shot. But yeah,
that's why I stick to the old slow pitch back here in St. Louis. We call it slow pitch because those hard pitches too hard.
Now, right? I used to be an outfielder. And then I became a first baseman. Nice. Now I would say that I'm a DH now. I'm not getting out there in the dirt. I'm just a DH.
Heck yeah.
I don't know. I don't play, but I'm saying if I did, I'd probably be a DH. I'm not running around the bases. But yeah, man, this was great. I don't know if there's anything else that you want to talk about, but I really appreciate because it's always good to hear it from the horse's mouth. Like I talk about it all the time, but like you're there, like you're in the rooms. You're working working at every level. You're at the development level of how the technology actually works. You know, when you pop open the hood, and having that understanding, you have no choice but to learn how it all works. You know, so I really appreciate your expertise, and I'm looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, and we appreciate you. That's why definitely wanted to partner with you, and it's just this is what it's all about. I mean, providing this data is with coaches and organizations like yourself is that dive into it, take the time to understand it, develop athletes, and seeing your passion and that you truly care about these, getting these athletes to their full potential. That is what we've always been about. So it's really refreshing to hear. It's exciting. I think, we talked about it a bit, but as we had data points and all that, this is just kind of the beginning of this whole ball flight era. So, working with, partners like yourself, I mean, that's what it's all about, getting these athletes to their best abilities. So we appreciate you as well. And, really looking forward to the relationship moving forward.
Great. Can you tell, everybody knows, Rapsodo, what is it? Rapsodo.com. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. So
easy to find. Yep. Just
anything you want to say, like just to the listeners, I give you final thoughts, final comment.
Yeah, sure. I would say, like I mentioned, if you have any questions about our ball flight offerings, or again, if it's you mentioned the high level audience, if there's new data points that we should be aware of, like start the conversation. It's a great group here. A lot of us played ball, baseball, or softball. A lot of that expertise. So we'd love to hear it from you guys. And you can check us out on socials as well. We got the Instagram page, and it's all Rapsodo softball. You can kind of follow what's new and what we're doing. But yeah, appreciate you, Rob. And, if, any questions, feel free to reach out to us anytime. We always love having the conversations with the coaches and athletes. All
right, Brian, will you be in New Jersey? We're having an NFCA conference in New Jersey this year in Atlantic City. Will you be there?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I hope, what, it's kind of crazy, but I don't get a chance to go to NFCA a lot because it's always the same time as the winter meetings.
It is.
MLB. It's always
the
right
same
there.
That's
December.
True.
So
maybe you can sneak
I'm
out,
hoping to hop over there.
Yeah, you can sneak out the back door. Come check out. It's a very, the whole sports world is a really small world. But softball's a really small world, and it's a phenomenal community. It's a great community of people. Parents, players, coaches, it's umpires. It's a great community. Vendors. It's really a community. It's a true community.
Yep.
So, all right, good to have you. And I will see you soon. We'll talk soon.
Awesome. Thanks, Rob. Appreciate the time.